Hello there, I am here as Alicia today because I have something to talk about. I've had it for a while. I suppose I just pushed it back because it wasn't necessarily the most pleasant of things. But usually the most unpleasant of things are actually even the most useful for us to talk about and share with people. So I'm here hoping that this can be of use. This was prompted, let me explain the prologue of all of this. I was on Reddit just earlier, and a girl posted, actually in a completely unrelated subreddit, about how she was losing weight. She was following a diet, and she had the feeling or impression that her mom was sort of sabotaging her because she was actually losing weight. Her mom is still morbidly obese, from what I understand, and she was worried because her mom told her that from the next day on she would have started to count her daughter's calories and make sure that she at least got 1,700 calories per day, because otherwise she would have gone into starvation mode, which is a bunch of bullshit, but we'll discuss about it another time. Starvation mode, though, no. And I could see it between the lines that she sort of had this idea at the back of her head, like, is my mom sabotaging me? And I read that, and then I read the comments, and I saw that at some point, she even mentioned that she's not allowed to go out of the house on her own. And this worried me and sparkled some sort of sympathy and empathy because it sounded awfully familiar. And then I went and read the other messages that she left on Reddit, and they were related to how she's had troubles with anxiety and depression, and her mom basically just told her to man up because there's no such pill. Or one of those things like depression is just being said, so just shake it off, and wouldn't have her see the doctor for that. She's not allowed to go on the doctor on her own because she's almost 17, but she's not allowed out of the house on her own. And that, again, this all started to depict a way too familiar picture. So one of the things that someone else thankfully said before I even got there was, it's actually pretty, it's not overprotecting, it's actually controlling that at 17 you cannot get out of the house on your own. So you might want to consider that, look into that, talk with someone at school, or to see how it's not quite as normal as it sounds to you, for just saying. And that was the final drop because it reminded me, oh my god, this 17-year-old girl is me, is the kind of 17-year-old girl that I was. And basically it reminded me that one of the things that I wanted to talk about is about the realization or coming to terms with having been raised by people with narcissistic personality disorder. There is a very specific subreddit called Raised by Narcissists that personally, I'm not sure saved my life is the best way to say it, but definitely gave more clarity to a lot of things. And I was so sorry to hear still from this girl all those kind of doubts, all those kind of justification and like going to summer halls to try and adapt to a parent that clearly is always trying in weird ways to sabotage you and make you dependent on them specifically. Is there such a thing as a parent that might work against you? Culturally, we are raised to believe there is not. And of course, it's like that because in general culture, from the media, and guess what, from where we are taught our life rules, it's our parents. So no, they there is nothing coming from their mouth that supposedly goes against their own selves, is there? Alas, apparently being raised by a narcissistic parent is a thing that happens more often than not. I don't like it. I'm really sorry, because I'd like to believe that it's a much rarer thing than it is, but apparently not. I have recently had to come to terms with the fact that all of the things that I thought about my mom being the best mom in the world, and I was so lucky, and I should have been thankful and grateful, as I was always told to, actually, that was the only reality that I knew for 30 years. But the truth is, I have been sabotaged for a very long time, because I don't know what my mother needed to have from me or from having a child, but having control over it and making it sort of something that she owns was the main part of it. And again, one of the things that I hear a lot is a weird sense of teenagers especially thinking about, oh, but I am paranoid, but I'm being ungrateful, but maybe I'm going through an angst phase or something. And believe me, the moment that you're thinking or saying that, it's already proof that no, you're not that paranoid, because you are already self-inquiring enough to wonder if the problem is with you or the rest of the world, and probably is with you. When you are used to deal with a figure of authority that comes from narcissistic personality disorder, you are taught for all your life to doubt yourself, be ready to question yourself, be ready to put yourself in question, and adapt to everything, because if something is wrong, that something is definitely you. And it's up to you to make it better, because you either have to man up, you're either being too much of a drama queen, you're definitely exaggerating, all of that kind of stuff. And you're made believe that the problem is you, not the situation you are in, not the way that these figures of authority are treating you. Because making you the problem makes it harder for you to talk about it. Because at the same time, you've been taught that, well, you're the problem, so you go fix yourself, you man up and sort things out. So what am I trying to say? I don't quite know what I'm trying to say with this video. I think I'm starting a journey here. And what I know is that I dared starting naming things with their name in the last few months, just because I happened around other people's stories that sounded so similar to mine, and I was always led to believe were normal or were supposed to be normal. But truth is, when you confront yourself with other life experiences, no, that's not normal. That's not necessarily something that you have to endure, that you're wrong. It's something that is worth fighting at least to get free from, because especially when the people you have around with narcissistic personality disorder happen to be your parents, there is a good chance that in some ways that has tainted a good portion of your ways to interact with other people, and you might fall, as I have done all my life, in certain pitfalls about behaviors and stuff like that. So what am I trying to say into this video is, if you think you're being paranoid, if you think that things are not quite alright, if you feel like you're being over-controlled by someone, but you're the one in the wrong, because certainly they're just thinking about you're good and you're the one making a fuss. Every time that you think about you're the one making a fuss, you're the one having the problem, you're the one that needs fixing, well, let's just put it like this. I would look around to see if you are the only one with this problem, or if actually other people with the same problem have taken a different perspective on the same thing, and actually show that maybe you're not so much as the problem as the situation or the people that are around you are, but because again of the way things go and the sense of self-preservation things and people have, you are the one who's been taught to adapt from the beginning, because that's what narcissist people do. You are taught to be the one molding and adapting around them, because it's not because they're good or bad people, it's a disturbed personality, and so everything needs to serve a purpose for their own good. It doesn't mean that it doesn't has to, I don't think it has to do with love, with deserving love, with having the ability to love. I think it's underrated as a mental issue, really. So yeah, if you feel trapped, over controlled, like you've been a drama queen, again, this girl is 17 years old and has never been out of the house on her own, and so far has been led to believe that's the right thing, that's okay. At the same time, she's been led to believe that it doesn't matter if she feels sick or ill. It's up to her mom to say if she's sick or not a doctor. She's not entitled to see a doctor. Back when I was a teenager, I was seeing a psychologist, and my mom decided that at some point it wasn't worth for me seeing the psychologist anymore. And I just realized years and years later that, of course, it wasn't in her interest for me to see a psychologist, because I could have talked to a psychologist and eventually said what was going on, because it wasn't necessarily as normal as it sounded to me. So the only thing that I can say with this first start is look around, ask people, talk to people, even about things that feel either really weird or really normal, but don't make you feel comfortable. Anything that makes you feel slightly uncomfortable, it doesn't have to be right. Confront yourself with someone else. Talk to people in school. Talk to people in structures, in communities, in your community of friends. But confront yourself and your ideas, because if you are as unlucky as I was to deal and be raised by parent with narcissistic personality disorder, it might take years, if you will manage at all, to get out of the mindset where everything is about you being wrong and you have to fix everything for everybody else. Of course, this is a much, much, much bigger topic that I can cover in just one video. So I'm just putting these out there, and I will try to talk more and more specifically about this in the next couple of weeks. And in case you have any question or doubt, exactly as you have something again at the back of your head and you're like, oh, maybe it's worth, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not, well, feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to be here. Again, I know how important it is to make a community speak about this kind of thing, because the main problem for me to drag it on until I am 30 was the fact that it is so imbued in your way of thinking since you're a child that certain things you just don't talk about. That's the best way that narcissists have to protect themselves in a certain way, because when you feel like you're not entitled and you're actually wrong to talk about something, of course you won't go there. Your mind after a while won't go there anyway, and that's how they protect themselves. But the thing is, this doesn't protect you, and in an environment with narcissistic people, you really, really do need protection, or at least as long as you need to be there until you can just escape the situation. So I hope this is not too controversial. Unfortunately, I am talking from experience, so I understand there can be different points of view about this, but the point here is I know I'm going really against the way culture has us thinking about nature. Parents are not just loving, caring creatures that are there to help us and support us and live for us. For some of them, we are commodities, we are objects, and they have bred us to be that. But it doesn't have to be like that. And most likely, coming from that kind of situation, you've already endured enough to have evolved in a pretty amazing human being anyway. So it's that a human being is worth the same, if not more, respect than a parent claims just because it genetically made you.